Well, good evening and welcome back to the Brothers-in-law. We hope you all had a great Thanksgiving weekend last weekend, and we welcome you all back safe and sound. It's good to see everyone starting to jump on here. Tone, we see you. Jesus love you. We see you. Stacy, we see you. And Goat, it should be jumping on. He's on his way out of town, so hopefully he'll get to jump on. But welcome everybody. We got an exciting show tonight to talk about a lot of questions you may have. So get sure you get them all in there for us. We love your interaction with us. And so if you're new to our channel, my name is Corey, and this is my co-host, Mr. Michael Bradley. He and I are both for prior law enforcement officers. I was a Virginia State Trooper for 7 years. Mike is a retired police officer out of Pleasanton, California, with 26 years of service. And also, Mike and I are both prior military. I'm a retired Chief Petty Officer with 21 years of service. And Mike served the United States Army for 6 years. And on top of that, Mike and I are both from Canton, Ohio, but live on different coasts now. He's out of California, and I'm in the great state of Virginia. So we just like to welcome you all and join in on this conversation as we talk about the police officers in Arkansas being sued for racial profiling. We're going to take a look and see if this is really racial profiling or was it really just a lack of training. And we'd like to get y'all's feedback on this and see what you think about it. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks for the welcome. We had a good weekend. I'm glad everybody's getting on here. This is always a kind of a sensitive topic among citizens because that question is always big, whether or not you need to identify yourself to police. I think it's important for people to keep in mind that, if a police officer is demanding your identification, he or she likely believes they have a legal right to do so. And it's always, I think, it's always in your best interest if you don't want no rifts or you don't want to risk being arrested, whether lawfully or unlawfully. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to go through all of that, just give me your ID. I always encourage that anyway. Yeah, here you go. Here's my ID. This is who I am. You don't have to tell them nothing. You don't have to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? But giving your ID is no big deal. But, there are issues when it comes to identifying yourself to police under certain circumstances. And we're going to try to get into that a little bit and see what's what. And this video is interesting because it happened in Arkansas, and we're going to look at it and see what it is.
Yeah. And so like you said, Mike, it's a very sensitive topic, and we highly encourage you guys to check out your laws in your prospective areas, states you live in, to see whether or not if police or what authority does the police have to ask you for your identification, and are you required to present your identification to the police when it's asked of you. So again, this video is kind of different. It was from the Young Turks. I guess they're on their website or whatever. This video was presented to us to talk about from one of our viewers to talk about this and break it down. But I could not find any news article about this, about the date and time when this happened. So I'm unable to provide that information for you all. But it does appear as though it did look like it happened this year. Not sure, again, the time frame of it, but this took place in the southern part of Arkansas, right on the Texas Arkansas border, in the southern part of the state. So the what I captured on the police vehicle was it had the Tex Arkansas on it. So the video is about 7 minutes and 30 seconds, somewhere around there. But just look at it and don't rush to judgment. Just kind of like look for red flags, look for anything that is unreasonable, what a reasonable officer would do versus what an unreasonable officer is going to do. So take a look at those things, and after we watch it, we'll discuss what took place and what might have been violated according to the Arkansas's laws, and what an officer can do and cannot do. And then we'll also throw in the part that I always dislike to talk about. It wasn't racial. All right. And what are you looking for? What makes it racial to you? If this was a racial incident, what stood out to you that made this racial? Not just, you can't just say just because he was black and the officer is white. You got to give me something hard, concrete that I could use in court. All right. So without further ado, Mike, we'll go ahead and set it up.
All right. Yeah.
Let's see. Give me 1 second to pull it up on the screen, y'all.
So if I'm not, just to set it up a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, these officers responded to this area for a call for service because the reporting party, there was a shooting in this area, and the reporting party apparently pointed this individual out as being involved. So they come across this individual naturally, and they try to stop him to investigate, hey, what's going on? They don't know at this point, preliminary, if I'm the officer, I don't know if he's a victim of a shooting. I don't know if he's the suspect. All I know is this reporting party called originally and reported him as being involved in this shooting that took place here.
Right. All right, y'all ready? Here we go.
Hey, man, let me talk to you a second. Hang on. Hold on. Stop walking. Let me talk to you a second, man. Okay. What's going on tonight?
I don't know. I ain't got nothing to do with y'all stuff.
Hang on.
Hey, what crime put you on your back?
In Arkansas, the Texarkana police are handcuffing that man who has not broken any laws.
I'm being detained right now?
Yes,
you are.
being
Detained. This is investigative detention. All right. At this point, you are not in any trouble. You understand? But we're being told by multiple people that you were involved in all this.
The cops are referring to a shooting moments earlier that targeted him. Reginald James, a veterinary technician, landlord, and father of 3, was walking by one of his rental properties when men in a car opened fire on him, prompting him to run.
Okay, that's all right. Go ahead and get his identification and everything. We'll go.
Got an ID in your pocket, sir?
Under the law, Mr. James is not required to give up his ID, but he consents anyway, politely.
I'm going to pat you down for our safety, then.
Based on the Constitution and settled court decisions, the police are free to try and talk with Mr. James, but he is under no obligation to respond or answer any questions.
And you can actually talk to us.
And he makes his position clear.
I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. I'm just trying to go home. Y'all stopped me for no reason.
No, we stopped you for...
I'm passing by and I fit a description.
You were pointed out.
That's okay.
So they may have all made a mistake when we work this out.
Y'all, it's cool though.
How do I up?
Because I ain't doing it. You stopping me for no reason.
Oh, okay.
Y'all gonna figure it out.
A little bit.
Well, that's not true. You can't say they're stopping you for no reason.
Which one? Right on the corner.
Okay. Well, all you had to do was talk to us a little bit.
I have to talk to y'all. I don't need to talk to y'all. You got me sitting here detained from
you're
the store coming home.
Mr. James is correct. He is detained and handcuffed, though he's the alleged crime victim, and he has the right not to talk.
I don't have to deal with y'all.
At certain times you do,
I
sir.
don't have to deal with you, Mr. McAdams.
Yes.
What's your name, sir? Mr. Negron? Nice to meet you.
So you say you don't know nothing about nothing? You ain't got nothing?
No questions, bro. I'm not answering any questions.
Hey, if you keep yelling like that, you're going to try to find a way to take you to jail. We're not doing that.
You're going to take me to jail then.
Hey, relax.
Thank you. Let me go.
He's a turd, ain't he, from over there. But multiple people pointed him out. That's what I got. That he was part of it. That's what he's saying.
I don't want to be bothered. I don't with y'all.
Thank you.
Joy Central. My version 209 Central. I'm in Rise to Jail 6. Also show me not having a camera.
Go ahead.
209 and 1930.
It's open. Has he identified himself yet?
So he allowed me to get billfold out.
Okay. Well, as of right now, he's under arrest for obstruction.
That's right. For refusing to answer any questions, Mr. James is being arrested for obstruction.
You have to identify yourself.
I did. Here's my ID.
Legal experts say that under the Constitution and the Arkansas Criminal Code, this is an unlawful arrest. But it gets even worse.
All we're trying to do is figure out what happened here.
Yeah, the arrest is where I have it.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
After stating that Mr. James is supposed to be the victim, the police then speak to an eyewitness who confirms he was the victim.
So what did you see?
Well, I was sitting in my window right here about in the living room window, and I was on the phone with her. I had my blinds up. All I seen was a blue Grand Marquis speeder outwards.
Coming out of the
out of the apartment. And then I seen him run that way, but the shots was already going on. I just made sure my kids was down and they was in the back room.
You heard shooting?
Yeah, he was running this way.
And you run
across these people's yard.
Did the car look like it was after him?
Yeah.
Or,
All right, Mike.
but which way did they turn?
They turned this way.
They come up right behind him.
Yeah.
Then. And then
he ran across his yard.
So that there is the gist of that video. So go ahead. You can start off, Mike.
No, well, first of all, did the first question that I think most people would have is, did the police have a right to stop and detain this person? You know what I'm saying? That's the first issue that I'm coming across. And yeah, I would say, yeah, they do have a right to stop and detain this person. There was a shooting reported in this area. The reporting party pointed him out as the one being involved. Now, before talking to this RP in person, they don't know if this guy is the shooter or the victim of someone being shot at. So that's the first question. I mean, that I think that's an easy answer. Is I think these officers definitely had a legal authority to stop and detain this person. The only reason why they put him in handcuffs, the only reason why they handcuffed him was because he was going to walk away and wasn't going to participate at all. He wasn't going to talk to these police officers at all. Well, we don't know that as an officer. I don't know if you a shooter, if you a suspect. All I know is someone said you were involved, so I at least got to investigate something, right?
Right. And he was given a description because he said they ID'd him. They pointed him out. So it's not like he was singled out because he was black.
No.
All right. So for me, that right there took it out. It's not like they drove down the street. Oh, it's that guy right there.
Oh, he's a black guy. He must be it. It ain't like that.
Right. They had description of him. They were pointed out as he was involved. Now, you know, and that's key because you have to be able to decipher what's going on. I have no problem with the administrative detention and him being handcuffed and the reason why they handcuffed him, I believe, is because he looked like he might take off and run. And so that's why they went on ahead and detained him. And they told him, hey, you are not under arrest. You're just under administrative detention. All right. Until they can figure all this out. Now, like you said, Mike, in Arkansas, they don't have to talk to the police. He made that very well known that he didn't. And he consented to them to get his ID. So they had his ID. No problem there. I'm good up to that point. Until the sergeant arrested him for obstruction. Now, again, that's the difference between other states and where I live. If you were being combative with me, you're not wanting to answer questions, you're not willing to help me out within this situation, you very well may stand a chance of being arrested here for obstruction. Right? You're obstructing the officer from performance of his or her duty and trying to figure out what's going on. Well, the only way we can get this all figured out is by arresting you and taking you down in front of the magistrate, or, you know, wait till the next morning, go in front of the judge and figure this out. versus, so work with me while we're here. Now, in Arkansas, that was wrong.
Oh, well, hold on. I got this off of the ACLU-Arkansas.org. This is American Civil Liberties Union in Arkansas. Okay, now on their site, they post and you can, any of our viewers can go on that site and see the same thing. Apparently in Arkansas, the law requires you to identify yourself to law enforcement upon request, but police cannot arrest you for refusal to identify yourself unless you are suspected of being involved in a criminal activity or your ID is needed to protect officer safety or resolve the reasonable suspicions that prompted the stop in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to definitely check your laws in the state. But come on, Corey. These officers, they just trying to do a job. This was a shooting that took place. He was pointed out as being involved. Do we not want the police to investigate the shooting that took place? Should we take this guy's word for it that he wasn't involved and let him just walk away? And then later on down the line, turns out that he was the one who did do the shooting. You know what I'm saying? We don't know that as officers. So as a citizen, you should want to help these officers at least get the information that they're trying to find out and say what you know or what you don't know, whatever that is. Why be so confrontational to where I ain't got to talk to you? I don't want to, especially if you're the victim. You're the victim.
And that would answer Tony's question. He says, is your right to remain silent an obstruction? No, it's not obstruction.
No, not in general,
if you just keep your mouth shut, it had this individual just shut his mouth and did it in a cordial way. Hey, sir, I wish not to speak to you at this time. And
he did provide his ID,
and he did provide his ID. And he just left it at that. But he, like you just said, Mike, he then became argumentative with them and getting loud and very agitated. And at that point, all right, you're just being very argumentative with me. Just I think it's different. If you would just, hey, because I had people say, hey, would you mind answering any questions? But no, I don't want to talk to you. Hey, no problem. And I let it go. And I, do my investigation.
Yeah. Officers got to do their due diligence. And at least identify who I'm talking to who may or may not actually be involved in this shooting. Right.
My mother asked, why didn't they check the person who was doing the shooting? Well, that's what they're trying to investigate. I think the shooters don't typically stay around the crime scene once they've done the shooting. They typically flee the scene.
Or they try to smoothly walk away saying, I don't want to talk to nobody. I ain't got nothing to do with it, and leave.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they were trying to do that, Mrs. Taylor.
Right. That's the part of the investigation. And that's why you have to detain folks that, you when you arrive on a scene as an officer, it gets very chaotic, and you got to try to find out who's who, what's going on, the who, what, where, when, and whys, and try to put everything together. And if you don't start detaining people and put them under administrative detention, you're just going to have people just fleeing the scene, and then you have nothing, right? The officer's job is to solve that crime that has been committed. And the way you gain control of the situation is you have to detain folks. You have to. Right,
or they just walk away from you.
Right,
just walk away from you. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't got to talk to you. I did this, but I ain't got to talk to you, so I'm out of here. All right.
Right.
Well,
like nothing. What do you think, Mike? If we just went by that principle alone, nothing would ever get solved.
Yeah, nobody would ever talk. People would lie. People lie every day to the police. Okay. Yeah, we see that we hear you say you ain't got nothing to do with it, but we can't just take that first statement at face value and assume you telling us the truth. If you were the suspect, why would you tell us the truth in the first place? Most suspects are going to say, I ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't me. I ain't involved, and walk away. Okay. So you got to look at it that way. These officers were not trying to harass anyone or anything like that. Now, the question is, too, Corey, is if once they have him detained, is he required to provide identification? Now, this is the gray area. This is an area where it can vary from state to state. You should definitely check with your state laws. Okay. In California, we don't have a stop and identify, what they call a stop and identify statute necessarily in California. However, officers obviously can legally detain someone if they suspect that they're involved in a crime. Okay, we can legally detain someone. We can handcuff someone if we need to for a detention. Not at all. Remember, handcuffing someone does not necessarily mean that they are under arrest. Okay, it just means they are detained. You're not going to just walk away from this site until I have the information that I need or whatever I'm investigating for. What we can't do in California is hold you for an unreasonable, unnecessary length of time on the street without doing something with you. Whether we're going to arrest you, whether we're going to let you go, whatever that is, as long as we can show that we are actively investigating why we are holding you here, then we're good to go. Okay. What you say, Corey? How do you see that?
No, it's pretty much the same way here. I mean, you're not going to just go up to somebody and try to challenge them and get their identification, and if no crime has been committed. Now, if you sense or you see something that a crime has been committed, and you built up that enough probable cause to cause you to want to investigate that further, then that's a different. But you know, it is that gray area, Mike. I mean, I agree with it, but I don't agree with that type of a policy or that type of a law, because my question is how does anything get solved if, you know, you're giving people the right to not have to identify themselves. That here in Virginia, I have the right to know who I'm talking to as a law officer. In case something happens, like we said before on previous shows, you know, it's a good thing. You want that record of who they talk to, because if I have to go back and, you know, go through notes, or somebody asks a question, well, where did you get this information from? I have a name to give of the person I talked to versus some guy provided this. I don't have any further information. You know, I have to get a name, address, contact number in case I need to reach out to you to ask further questions, you know, so I can make sure I have my I's dotted and T's crossed for my reports. So, you know, but at the same time, you know, so much has gone on over the years with racial tensions and everything, and particularly people of color being profiled and everything. I see why you have certain laws like this to try to minimize those type of things. But at the same time, you still want to be able to do your job as law enforcement to solve that crime.
Now, my question in this video is, this guy, he was the victim. He was being shot at. So they later determined. Right. Why was he so confrontational and didn't want to cooperate about it? And we got to that point in society where somebody was just shooting at me, but I don't want, I'm walking on away. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't want no involvement with the police. I don't want nobody to investigate nothing. Somebody shooting at me. Yeah, unfortunately, this society has come to that. You know what I'm saying?
That's very interesting that you said that, Mike, because last night I had as I talked to you before the show started, I had a pretty interesting conversation with an Arkansas police officer, and he gave me a little insight to what goes on that border down there between Arkansas and Texas, and they call it Texarkansas, down there. And he mentioned that a lot of sovereign citizens live down there. So if you understand what a sovereign citizen is, they like to handle things on their own down there. They don't like going to law enforcement. So that could be a reason why he acted out the way he did. Maybe he was a sovereign citizen. Maybe he sees, police in a different light other than just, a black or white issue type thing. They believe in being sovereign, that they're not required to abide by the laws. And therefore that's why he's probably saying, I don't have to talk to you at whatever. Also too, he mentioned that down there, when you get outside a major metropolitan area, a lot of the officers there, because my biggest problem with this video was probably, if I had to say, would be the arrest. And then, not letting him go once you found out that he was actually the victim in this case.
Yeah.
Well, again, that could be just like talking with this officer here from Arkansas last night, a lack of training, because he said once you get outside, like I said, the metropolitan area, the quality of law enforcement you have in these small counties diminishes, because the guys around the major metropolitan area, major cities, actually go and get certified through the universities. And a lot of the officers up around the metropolitan areas all have bachelor's degrees. So it's a level of knowledge issue there. When he explained it to me, that made a lot of sense to me as to why they probably did what they did. Plus, you have a lot of old heads down there, Mike, where a lot of these type of guys have that attitude. Well, once I cuff you, there's no unarrest. They're gonna take you down and be booked. That's that old school mentality.
That's very old school mentality. They got to get rid of that.
I mean, they got to get rid of it. But see, that's that training. And also he mentioned that, again, those small counties down there along that border, a lot of those guys are hired on first and working the road first, kind of getting that OJT before you go to the academy, which is wrong. And they have to do that because they don't have the people to become law enforcement, and so he went very in detail with that with me last night, and that kind of made a lot of sense to why this video played out the way it did. It didn't have nothing to do with racial profiling. It had to do with a lot of lack of training and understanding the letter of the law.
I agree. I don't see any racial issue here. I mean, these officers looked like they were doing what they thought was right. It had nothing to do with the fact that this guy was black. It had everything to do with, number one, a shooting was reported. Number two, he was identified as being involved some way, somehow. Stacy just asked a question a little bit ago about was that his wallet they were searching, and if so, can they do that? Now you got to check in the laws in Arkansas as far as physically going into someone's pocket and pulling out their wallet. You can't search individuals like that for no reason going into property. But the trick with that is the citizen may feel there's no reason, but the officer may feel there is a reason. See, that's why you got to be careful when you're dealing with police. I'll always tell you to cooperate with police. You see what I'm saying? Don't get up in there and say, I don't have to do that and I ain't going to do it. Because if that officer feels they have a legal right to do what they're going to do, they're going to do it with or without your consent. You see what I'm saying? And the way to handle that is if you feel that they are searching you illegally or anything like that unlawfully, you take note of what's going down, and then you can take them to court, file a complaint with the Internal Investigations Unit at the police department about what happened. You could sit down and go home, write your own report. You know what I'm saying? Right. explain what happened and why you think it was against the law, and that'll all come out. Okay. For instance, if an officer illegally searches you, anything they come up with is going to be admissible in court. So no officer is trying to illegally search you, because they all know if I illegally search you, it's going to come up in court. It's not going to hold. I could pull a gun out of your pocket or something, but if I illegally searched you, that gun goes out the window. You see what I'm saying? Everything's got to be within the law for police officers, especially when it goes to court, because we got to justify everything we did. These officers got to write a report.
What would you say would be an illegal search, so our viewers understand?
An illegal
search versus being detained and searched, or placed under arrest and searched.
Very good question. Very good question. Obviously, when you are arrested, you can be searched because you are in our custody. You are under our control as an officer. So we have a right to know everything that you are carrying. We have to do an inventory search, if you will. Okay. When you are arrested, there's a difference now between detained and arrested. When you are arrested, we can search you, your car, incident to arrest, assuming you were arrested by your car and we stopped you. It has something to do with your car. You see what I'm saying? We can search you then. An unlawful search would be like, say if I stopped you and I really didn't have any reason to stop you. Like it's a consensual contact. And I decide that, you might be carrying something illegal in your pockets. And I go up and I start searching, pulling out your contents of your pockets. Well, that's an unlawful search. Number one, I had no right to stop you. Okay. Meaning I had no right to detain you. Okay. And I'm searching you based on that premise that I stopped you. Well, that's an illegal search. Can't search somebody like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a legal right. And an officer has to articulate in court why he ended up searching you or your car or whatever it is. They have to articulate that in a court of law in their report. And if it ain't right, it's going to get thrown out. Okay. So no officer wants to illegally search you. They don't want to do that because they know it's going to get thrown out of court and it's going to be all for nothing.
Right. Okay. All for nothing. And you did all that knowing, it ain't going to hold. So yeah, I agree with you, because a lot of times, you're on edge anyway. So as an officer, I used to tell my trainees, man, you always want to make sure you dot that I and cross that T. If you have any doubt of what to do, don't do it.
Yeah.
If there's ever any doubt.
When you're dealing with, I agree. And if that officer is going to do it anyway, then last thing we're going to tell you to do is fight and argue with that officer and hold court on the street. Then you go ahead and let that officer do what he or she is going to do, because in their mind, they feel they have a legal right to do it. You see what I'm saying? So if they're going to search you, I'll give you an example. Many times in my career, I've done traffic stops, and I already know that I have a legal right to search someone's car, whether I see something in plain view when I walk up to the car that allows me to search it. Back in the day when marijuana was illegal, yes, the smell of marijuana could give me a right to search your car. The smell of fresh burnt marijuana or any marijuana like that, can't do it. We don't do that anymore. Okay, because marijuana is legal, so that is not something that I'm going to search your car for. However,
right.
Getting off the subject a little bit, if I smell marijuana, you could be high or under the influence of marijuana, which means you could be driving under the influence of marijuana. I might pull you out and do a DUI investigation, but that's a different story. Anyway, I might come up to you and I might already know that I have a legal right to search you or your car, but I may ask for your consent anyway. Okay, just so I can make sure that I have all my I's dotted and T's crossed. Now, if you tell me no, you can't search, then that's okay. I'll put that in my report that you declined permission for me to search, but I'm going to let you know I'm going to search anyway. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'll search, and because I already know uphand that I have a right to search. Now, one thing also we want to make clear, Corey, is if you're driving, you do have to provide your identification to police. That's a whole different ball game. Okay, when you're driving a vehicle, you have to identify yourself. If you pull over by police while driving a vehicle, you definitely have to provide your driver's license for driving that vehicle. Okay, there's no gray area about that.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So Tone says, can't the officer search under probable cause, and how does the officer justify probable cause?
Good question. Very good question, Tone. Let me give you an example. Okay. Let's say I pull someone over and I see something, and we're talking about a car here. Let's start with a car, because a car is the most common type of search that an officer does on a traffic stop or something. So I pull you over and I see some contraband in plain view. Okay. I have a right to search that car for any contraband that I see along the lines of what contraband I see in that car. So if I see a gun laying in the center console in plain view that's not properly transported in California, then I can search that vehicle. I can go in and grab that gun, and I can search for any contraband that might be connected to that gun inside that vehicle. So that's how you can use probable cause to search a vehicle. And you have to
here you can only search that immediate area where that person was.
And now I use the gun in that situation. Let's say if it was a drugs or contraband or something like that. Let's say if it was, well, back in the day when marijuana was illegal, let's say it was marijuana. Well, can marijuana also be kept in the glove box? Yep. Can marijuana also be kept in the center console? Yep. You can search that car for more evidence of marijuana if you see that in plain view. Keyword, plain view. Okay.
Now here's the catch-22 to this, Tone. You go ahead and get arrested for whatever reason. I have to tow your vehicle. I stole your vehicle. So now I have to inventory everything that's in that vehicle. So what am I doing now? I have to inventory. I get money. If I come across drugs, can I use that? Yeah, because I have to inventory. While I'm inventory, I find more contraband. I'm finding, an AK-47 in the back, and you're, prior, convicted felon. Yeah, I can use all of that. So that's kind of like the catch-22 of this. All right, well, you don't want to give me consent. I'm arrest you anyway. I gotta tow your vehicle, and I gotta store it, and I have to document on that storage sheet everything that I've gotten out of that vehicle. If there's money, I have to take the money and I have to put it in, turn it into our evidence, and then our supervisor actually put it in the bank, because it's supposed to be kept in the bank, and it actually draws, so you can draw interest on it. So yeah, everything gets documented. So that's kind of a way around that. Okay, you don't want me to search your vehicle? Well, I'm taking you to jail. I'm gonna tow your vehicle and store.
Now, the only now in California, the only difference between something like that is, before I retired, they came up with a bit of a change in that, as far as towing the vehicle when you were arrested. If we can safely pull that vehicle into someplace safe, a legally parked area, parking lot, or wherever that is, we won't tow the vehicle if we can do that. But we can't leave that vehicle like in the road, obviously in the roadway, or leave it on someone else's private property where it now becomes their problem. We can't do that. So we have to tow it under those circumstances. But yeah, Corey, you're right. I mean, if incident to arrest, we call that towing. Searching a car, incident to arrest too, for towing. If you're doing an inventory search, yeah, you can search it up and down in that
So,
situation.
yeah. So my question, well, before I get to that, hey, want to welcome everybody who's just jumping on. I see some people are jumping on over there on Facebook. Hey, welcome everybody. Tonight we're talking about a racial profile incident that took place down in Arkansas a few months back, and it didn't really gain a lot of national attention on all the big major websites, but it did float around a lot of different places on social media. Whether or not the officers in Arkansas were profiling this young black man who actually ended up being the victim in this case, uh, and was unlawfully arrested because the officer said that he was obstructing justice, and he clearly wasn't, according to the Arkansas uh, laws. Now, any other state, he might have still went to jail because just based on how he was carrying on. There's definitely ways of handling things. So my question to the audience is, what do you guys think? Was this a case of racial profiling, or A, or B, were these officers just not knowledgeable on their arresting procedures?
And a case law that just came to my mind that we had mentioned from I think it was last week's show or the week before show, Hibble versus Nevada, I think it was. Same kind of incident. Guy was stopped, and he was actually convicted for not identifying himself to police, because according to Nevada law, you have to identify yourself to police if they legally detain you, and because they believe you may be involved in a crime. And that's in that case, you guys can go to these case laws and look for yourself. Hibble, I think it's Hiibel versus Nevada. Look at those case laws, and they'll tell you what they came up with on those court decisions. But you know what, folks? A lot of this stuff will always be argued in court. And, some states will have this, some states will have that. You know what I'm saying? You always want to know and be familiar with what the laws are in your state, because they may be different than another state, And this situation, that's what I had a problem with too, Corey. If I don't have a problem with them detaining him, I don't have a problem with them obviously identifying him. But when they came up to the decision to say, okay, we're going to arrest you for it, what I would have done is, once I identified him, and if he was an uncooperative victim, then I would have just let him go and put that in my report. Contacted a such and such, confirmed that he was in fact the victim in this case. However, he refused to cooperate with police and didn't want to provide any information. Case closed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he would have went on about his way. That's what I would have done in that situation. I wouldn't have booked him or nothing like that.
No. And the guy that made that decision was a sergeant. So he was a supervisor. So you would assume that he knew better, according to the Arkansas laws there and their statutes. Now, again, you put that same scenario in another state, it might have been totally fine.
Totally different.
It might have been totally different the whole way. So that's why we always have to say, let's not rush to judgment, whether this was racial or whatever. When we have to look at the whole scope of the incident. And we have to look for things, right? Our number one thing, and what we try to express to you all, is look at it from what a reasonable person or what a reasonable officer would do. Like I say, Mike and I like to think that we're reasonable guys. And so when we approach these videos that we talk about, we're looking at it as, okay, if I were in his situation, and according to our laws that we have here in Virginia, and Mike doing the same thing about California laws, is this what I would have done? Maybe. Would I handle it a little differently? Yeah, because every officer is going to do this different. But the bottom line is, did they follow procedures? or their department policy, did they violate the individuals and citizens' civil liberties, and was it a just arrest? You know,
Right.
so all those things, Mike, to me is what I'm looking for. So I don't immediately jump into race. The race is going to play itself out. It's gonna show its face. You're gonna know when it's a racial incident. When you put something out here like this, and then you're using the racial profile. Now, some media might be doing it just so they can get the engagement, get that traffic to their channel, so that boost up their ratings or whatnot, and use play on words or keywords like that racial profile. What does that do? That people who don't understand the laws and what things happen, well, they key on those words, and that drives them to that, and now you automatically are thinking that this is a racial incident without even knowing what happened, other than what the title said. So keep an open mind, right? Is this what a reasonable officer would do?
Right. I agree. And know your laws. You guys can reason. One thing I applaud this guy for doing, though, is he didn't fight with the police.
Correct.
Even though he felt that they were illegally detaining him, even though he felt that they were illegally identifying him.
Right.
He didn't fight. He went on and went with the program, and he's going to handle his stuff in court. If he's going to turn around and sue him, then you turn around and sue him. But he didn't fight on the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
important. Right. I 100%, Mike. And that's what we want. If you're going to do it right like this, man, even though whatever, that's how you do it. Don't argue on the side road. Don't fight. He was cool. Yeah, he probably could have just, shut his mouth and just let it ride up. No,
he had an attitude. Maybe he had an attitude because he felt wrongly detained. All right. But he didn't fight.
But he didn't fight. And that's key, right? He didn't fight. Nobody had to put hands on. He didn't resist trying to get in the vehicle.
Nope.
Now he's alive to sue them.
Yeah.
Now, if he wins, he's going to win bigly, and he's going to be retired, because I'm sure he'll get a nice settlement.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is. Now, being in that from Arkansas, and what this officer was telling me, he might not get millions, but he's going to be all right. He might just be a thousandaire instead of a millionaire. But he's gonna probably get taken care of for a little while. But at least he's alive.
Yeah.
At least
just remember, just because if you ever get stopped by police, just because you don't think it was a lawful reason doesn't mean the officers don't think it was a lawful reason. And those officers are going to act according to what they believe, not what you believe. You see what I'm saying? They're going to act according to what they believe. So if they believe they're going to arrest you lawfully and you fight, they're going to do whatever they can to apprehend you, overcome you, and get you arrested. Right or wrong, they're going to do that on the street. They're going to act within the boundaries of what they believe they are doing is right. You see what I'm saying? And that's why you can't challenge that issue, because what we want you to do is stay calm. You know what I'm saying? So you can move on, or whatever that is, whether you're arrested or moving on home. Even after your arrest, you're going home at some point. You see what I'm saying? And we want you to fight your battles in a courtroom, not on the street when it comes to
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up for tonight. Leave us a comment below if you like the discussion we had tonight. But before we go, I like to get y'all's feedback on these t-shirts. And Mike and I have been wearing these t-shirts for quite some time now. The Brothas-in-law. And also I made another one the other day. This is Brothas-in-law and has a little shield underneath it. Leave us a comment down below if you like that. And then on the back, it has our acronym: stay calm, comply, answer questions, and move on. If you like one, go ahead and email me at the Brothas-in-law 21 at Gmail, and give me your search size, and I'll get you on. There, $25 is all it takes. That's for me to do it and the shipping and handling. And I'll give you the how to pay me and everything like that. So let me know what you guys think about the t-shirts. If you like one, to help us out, because what we would like to do is get a seminar or simulator. I'm sorry, simulator to where Mike and I can get together and hold training on shooting scenarios. So you'll see how fast an officer has to make a decision whether or not he or she needs to shoot or not. And we'll discuss that and things like that. So that's where we like to go with this, to be more hands-on with y'all. If you like us to do training like that in your area, hey, hit us up, email us, let us know. Mike and I both are on Facebook. You have our Facebook website, our page, I'm sorry. And let us know what you think, and we can make something happen. So we thank y'all tonight for watching us. If you have a video that you would like for us to break down like this, hey, let us know. Send us a message on Facebook Messenger, or email us right here, or drop it in on our Facebook page.
Real quick, Mrs. Taylor, she asked a good question too. Could it be a setup between the shooter and the guy they have? But that's part of the investigation, Mrs. Taylor. That's why it was important to stop this guy at least, because that's the only one that they had there. You know what I'm saying? Right. To try to get any information from. So that's all part of an investigation of trying to find out what happened. I would hope that we would, if a shooting happens, we would want officers to take it seriously and investigate it as best that they can. And in this situation, I felt that they were trying to do that, investigate it as best as they can. I don't think they were trying to harass anybody. I don't think they were trying to do anything because somebody was black or whatever it was. I think they were just trying to do a job. And this guy didn't want to help them. So
no. And you have to, as an officer, gain control of the situation. Otherwise, you'll just have total chaos. And you'll never figure out who's who in the zoo, because I guarantee you, he had to probably know who was shooting at him.
Yeah,
he knows who was shooting at him.
He knew somebody who was shooting. If somebody gonna shoot at you,
yeah,
you gotta know. You at least gotta have some idea of why. Right. But if you don't want to talk and don't want to deal with the police and all that, well, if they try to get you this time, they're gonna try again next time. And they might be successful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all, we out of here. Y'all have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your week, and an awesome weekend. And y'all be safe, and we will see y'all next week. Same time, same sandbox. Peace.
Peace.
Love y'all.